Thanks in advance for your interest in attending this session and getting to know about assessing competencies and graphing students' progress in the context of online higher education. I am Cristina Girona. I work, as you said, at the ILAN Center of the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya, Open University of Catalonia in Barcelona, Spain. The ILAN Center is the Innovation and Training Center for Online Teaching and Learning at Work. And as you may know, our university is a fully online university. So today I'm going to tell you about the graph system we are currently working on. So these are the points I'm going to present to you today, which are basically what is graph, how it works, its pedagogical and technological basis, so what's behind, and the practical application so far, together with future implications. WOC has implemented this competency-based design and evaluation in several university programs since 4 years. So let's start by pointing out that graph, ending F in Spanish, stands for graph or graphical in English. Graph aims mainly at assessing students' learning and progression of curricular competencies and graphically representing such progression so that students get their personal competency graph report. This report consists of information and a visual graphic. And the graphic appears automatically and shows what competencies each student have learned and at what level of performance. So these are the aims, but let's focus on these particular features of the project. Graph works or is applied in master degrees and postgraduate courses at the university. Competency formative assessment is done throughout the semester, since the very beginning of the semester until the students graduate. All this occurs while students learn and complete learning activities in the virtual courses. Nothing unusual so far, you might think. So I invite you to listen and see which might be the added value of this experience. And then at the end, we could all see if you agree or not, right? So let's see how the system works. I'd like to start with this 2 short-minute video, which I guess is the best way to make you familiar, for you to make familiar with the system and of assessing competencies online. This video is addressed to teachers who are assessing competencies in our courses, and it's one of the resources they are provided with to do their job. The voice is always in Catalan. In fact, it's me speaking, and subtitles are in English, so I will need you to read. So sorry for that, but let's go. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. So let's go on. Good, then the system then works in the way it was explained. Before moving forward, I'd like to underline that we are talking about the system of evidence-based evaluation and accreditation of curricular competencies, based on the integration of pedagogical engineering methodologies with data, architecture, design, and technological applications, specially tailored, remember that, to online higher education, and in particular in our university context. Now that we know what graph is, let's move on to more things and see the pedagogical and technological basis of graph in detail. I mentioned evidence-based evaluation. This competency assessment system is evidence-based. So that since the very beginning, we need to make clear that students might show evidence of their learning and level of performance. This could be cooking or surfing or whatever they are learning in our course. They could even do more things and generate more evidences of their learning when mini biking or jumping or even dancing with a gorilla or whatever. But in our context, evidences of learning will be a piece of text, for example, defending an argument in favor of the protection of animal species, or an infography showing the process of cell division, or a video presentation of a group work, for example. Let's see how this evidence-based assessment approach fits into the graph system. Pedagogical basis behind is the following. As you may see, first of all, the student generates evidences of competency learning in the framework of their learning activities in the course, which faculty assess by the use of assessment rubrics, and provide personalized qualitative feedback. Then each level of attainment, as you may see in these small rubrics here, corresponds to a level of competency performance. When assessing students' evidences, each level of attainment is drawn in a graphic, according to the workload of each competency and dimension, specified in percentages in the competency map of a whole degree or master's degree. So, according to this rationale, the entire working sequence followed by faculty or professors, learning designers, and technologists consists mainly in these 7 steps. Number 1, faculty build a competency map, matching courses, competencies, and dimensions of these competencies. In this map or matrix, we might say, for example, that critical thinking for the in-depth analysis of the main psychological approaches and theories is a competency which is learned in 4 out of 10 courses of an entire curriculum, for example, of the entire curriculum of psychology, a degree in psychology. So this is number 1. Then number 2, the design matrix is loaded into the system and tools and access from each online course is provided to faculty from the virtual course in the virtual campus. This provision is done by the Graph Tech team. Number 3, students do activities to learn and put competencies like the one I mentioned into practice. And during that, of course, teachers guide, help, orient, coach, give feedback, among others, throughout the learning process. Let's go to number 4. Students deliver their works, that is, they generate these evidences. Number 5, professor assesses the level of competency progress by using rubrics and provides feedback. Number 6, the progress is graphically represented. And then number 7, students get a graph report which might be personalized, export, and share. Let me show you a real example of this. In the context of this master's degree here, for example, university master's degree in design, visual identity, and brand construction of work. Students, let's say that students are learning to value and apply design as an innovation factor to transmit strategic values of brands fostering analysis and creativity. As this competency is a very long concept involving many things, we just slow down and work at the level of dimensions. So that in the course of culture and design of brands, this, as this example shows, students must learn to critically analyze brands in identity creation and apply methods of creativity in the proposal of a brand design. Students then are going to put these skills into practice throughout several activities in the course, and all along the courses students are registered in. Also in this course called Culture and Design of the Brands. They will be provided with resources to solve the activities. They will do the learning activities and will be accompanied by teachers in the virtual classroom. As I said, teachers accompany, teachers coaches, teacher orient, give this value during the learning process. Then students will elaborate in this particular case, a mood board and a video presentation, which are the evidences they generate, and faculty will assess the deliverables by using a competency rubrics. So let's see how this takes place. We are still in the pedagogical and technological basis of GRAPH. Regarding the working process, we have been working in 3 different phases or stages. The learning design stage, number 1, the competency evaluation and monitoring stage, number 2, and number 3, the graph representation stage. So specific tools have been developed for each stage or phase of work. For the design stage, we have been developing the competency design tool. For the evaluation and monitoring stage, the competency assessment tool, that's number 2. And number 3, for the graphic representation stage, the competency graph report that the students get, as I said before. For the tools working properly, we must feed them with data, with information. So let's see how we feed the first tool, which is the competency design tool. As a first step, faculty builds an assessment rubric. Secondly, professors build a competency map or matrix for the entire degree. You may see this screenshot here on your left-hand side. This matrix matches competencies, the dimensions of these competencies and the activities involved, and the relation is expressed in percentages, expressing the weight in terms of students' workload and evaluation of each competency and dimension. And finally, map and rubrics are uploaded to the system. This is, for example, an assessment rubric. Each dimension is described and defined in terms of level of attainment. These pieces of texts that you see related to every level of attainment are in fact the personalized and qualitative feedback generated and that the students get. The second tool is the competency assessment tool. Professors access this tool in his or her course in the virtual campus. Professors assess learning as they normally do in the course, and in parallel, they assess competencies, and they give feedback to both. In turn, students get a grading book with their marks, not only at the end of the course, but throughout the course, feedback on that marks, formative assessment of competencies, and feedback on such assessment. The third tool is the personalized competency graph report that the students get at the end of the semester. The report shows all the competencies included in the whole program, the level of attainment of each competency in a particular moment, and also in detail which particular dimensions of each competency have been assessed and by means of each particular learning activity. So the students get all this information apart from the graph itself that you can see here. So far, we have seen what graph is, how it works, and which pedagogical and technological model is behind. So let's move on to the scope and implications of this experience. The work has spent 4 years developing graph, and it has been applied to 5 programs in different areas. An MBA, 2 master's degrees, a postgraduate course, and a university extension course. A total of 56 compulsory courses, or university subjects, let's say, and 435 students have been involved in these programs, so that this number of students have already get their graph report. Which were our initial motivations? What's behind all this? What was the purpose? First of all, to build up an agile, evidence-based learning activity grading system, which allows teachers to assess competencies and provide personalized feedback. An accurate competency-based design of study programs. Remember the first tool, which is the Competency Map. This is referred to that. The use of rubrics for teaching and learning. Remember the example that I showed you. Then make students' assessment visible. Remember the graph. A system which is compatible with the traditional credit rating system in accordance with the educational model of our university, which is represented with this nice graphic here. In accordance with the educational model, in accordance with the educational model of our university, that's the graphic, and then in which assessment is formative and continuous. The project was also motivated to cover the certain needs of the labor market and some of the needs expressed by universities also. In that sense, we might say an academic transcript shows academic results. But in our case, a graphic representation like this of competency development showing, for example, leadership capacity or teamwork or multidisciplinary environments and effective communication, for example, just to give you a few examples, allow students to show and demonstrate their skills in a useful, valuable, and visual format. And this is, in fact, the added value of graph. So what does graph contribute to? This is just a reminder to end up. From the teaching point of view, it provides a model, a methodology, and a tool for designing competency-based programs and assessing the evidence of competency learning generated by students in the teaching and learning process throughout the semester. Okay, so if you want to evaluate or assess competencies, you have to design competency-based. If not, it's impossible. Okay. From the student's point of view, on the other side, graph enhances conventional evaluation by accompanying marks with educational feedback on the level of competency achieved and provides the graphic representation of progress that you have seen. Then, just to end up, future lines of work involve the following. 3 things. First, due to the success of the initiative, the work has decided on a widespread application of graph to other programs in the university. Second, approaching how the model can incorporate evidence from outside the academic world, from students' personal or professional lives. We know that graph is out of this, but of course we wanted to start by the smallest part of a cake, not with the whole cake, not eating the entire cake, so step by step, right? But of course we think that this would be really an added value to the project. And finally, continue working so that the competency-based designs and assessment culture is a reality in the university sector. So, today we have seen what is graph, how it works, what's the pedagogy and the technology behind, and further applications and implications that it has. So thanks very much for attending, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Cristina, for a fascinating talk. So if anyone has questions, if they could type those into the chat. And I'll just get started with a question of mine, if that's okay.
Okay.
I'm very impressed. I'm someone who's developed a competency framework at my workplace, not at a university, but for an instructional design company. I know how much work is involved in the development of these types of framework. So I imagine it must have been quite, you've done this in 4 years, that there must have been a lot involved in getting all the different groups on board, as well as developing the framework and the tools.
If there's much work involved, did you say?
Yeah. How did you get all the different groups together to understand and sign up to building the framework?
Well, in fact, this is collaborative work. Many people is implied. In fact, at the beginning, in fact, it is a strategic. It's a strategic point of view from the university. Of course, we've always said that our programs, and I think that this occurs in many universities and higher education institutions, all the programs are competency-based, designed, and when you finish a degree or a master course, then just for the fact that you are graduated, then you have got these competencies, or you have learned it, or you have learned how to develop them. But in fact, this is sometimes far from the reality. And then we really would like to we really wanted to involve each professor, each dean, each people from the tech team, every person in our learning designers team, and all these people organized under the umbrella of a strategic point of view to develop this. I think that this is part of the success.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Really, really great. Yeah. And how does I know we're running out of time. I think we have a minute to go. I'm not seeing any other questions. So perhaps very briefly before we wrap up, how are the students finding the tool? Are they enjoying working with it, would you say, generally? Yeah, in fact, they get the graph and the report, but they don't see the huge amount of work that the teachers do when assessing. In fact, the graph is a present for them that the university gives them, and they say that it's an added value because it's something real, something that you can touch, something that you can export, that you can share with employees or in social networks. So it's something that, apart from the academic curricula, is something that tells you about your soft skills, in which, for example, in some interviews, okay, in the labor market, these soft skills are very important. But it's very difficult that you can just demonstrate that you've got them or that you are developing them, and at what level of attainment. And this is what graph we think that helps. Yeah, so absolutely. I can see how it works. Well, thank you again. Okay. And thanks so much. Thanks to you for the opportunity. So thanks so much to all the team of the conference. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Cristina.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.